Shells explode. Smoke and fire consume everything. Then, silence. The creak of a turret. A soldier's breathing, heavy and shallow. Inside the steel belly of a tank in World War II, there was no glory. No safety. Just the deafening roar of the engine, the stench of sweat and cordite, and the constant reminder that you were sitting in a coffin on tracks. Today, we're peeling back the hatches to uncover the brutal, forgotten truth of what it meant to be a tank crewman in the Second World War. They called them iron beasts. Symbols of power, symbols of fear. From the rolling plains of France to the frozen hell of the Eastern Front, tanks ruled the battlefield. But inside, the story was different. 5 men crammed into a steel box, barely bigger than a family car. The gunner, eyes glued to his sights. The loader, hands raw from slamming shells into the breach. The driver, deafened by the roar of the engine. The commander, scanning desperately for threats. And the radio operator, his headset alive with static and screams. The tank was their shield, their weapon, and their tomb. If the enemy saw you first, you didn't have time to run. A German Tiger shell could punch through an Allied Sherman like a can opener. On the Russian steppes, T-34 crews faced waves of 88mm fire, each impact turning men into shadows in an instant. There was no such thing as a safe seat. Forget what you've seen in Hollywood. Life inside a World War II tank wasn't heroics. It was misery. Temperatures inside could hit 140 degrees in the desert. Crewmen cooked in their uniforms, their skin blistered from metal surfaces heated by the sun. In winter, frostbitten fingers struggled to load shells. The ventilation systems? Primitive if they worked at all. Then the smell. Cordite from the main gun. Fuel leaks. Unwashed bodies. The stink of blood and burned flesh after a hit. Many veterans described it the same way. A nightmare you never woke up from. And the noise. God, the noise. Every shell you fired shook your bones. Every round that struck your armor rang like a death knell. Crews learned to read those sounds. Was it a glancing hit or the last sound they'd ever hear? But worst of all was the claustrophobia. No room to stretch. No room to escape. When a tank was hit, panic set in. Hatches jammed. Flames spread fast. The interior became an oven. And survival came down to seconds. If you climbed inside a tank in 1944, the odds were against you. In Normandy, the average lifespan of a Sherman crew after first contact was just 17 minutes. 17. In the open fields of Kursk, Soviet T-34 crews fought knowing that for every German Panther they killed, 5 of their own would burn. And when tanks burned, they really burned. Fuel lines ruptured. Ammunition cooked off. Fireballs tore through the crew compartment in seconds. There's a reason soldiers called Shermans Ronsons. Like the cigarette lighter. Lights every time. Inside, there was no room to retreat. You either scrambled out through a hatch, or you died where you sat. Survivors talk about the sound of men screaming, the smell of burning oil and flesh, and the silence after. That silence stayed with them forever. Being a tank crewman wasn't just about surviving the enemy. It was about surviving the machine itself. Engines failed mid-battle. Turrets jammed. Radios went dead. One wrong move, one mistake, and you doomed not just yourself, but the 4 men who trusted you with their lives. And then there was the infantry. The same men you were there to support often resented you. A burning tank drew enemy fire, like a beacon. A hit Sherman could ignite a whole position, leaving everyone exposed. Crews learned to fight dirty. Hit and run. Fire and reposition. In towns, they hugged buildings to avoid air strikes. In forests, they prayed they weren't driving over mines. The job demanded nerves of steel and reflexes sharp as a blade. 1 second of hesitation, and you'd never climb out alive. Here's what they don't tell you. Tank crews weren't faceless soldiers. They were brothers. 5 men bound together by fire and fear. They ate together, slept together, fought together. When one died, the others carried that weight for the rest of their lives. Some crews decorated their tanks with names, nose art, even talismans for luck. Others refused, believing it was bad omen, because in war, luck never lasted. And the terrifying truth? Technology didn't save them. Armor got thicker. Guns got bigger. But the reality stayed the same. Inside a tank, you were one hit away from oblivion. By the end of the war, tens of thousands of tankers had died inside those steel coffins. Today, we remember the machines. The Shermans. The Tigers. The T-34s. But the men? Their stories are fading. They weren't just drivers, gunners, or loaders. They were kids, barely old enough to vote, thrown into the most unforgiving job on the battlefield. And yet they fought. They endured. They climbed into those machines knowing exactly what could happen. Because someone had to. So the next time you see a rusted Sherman in a museum, or a black and white photo of a tiger rolling through the mud, remember what it really was. Not a war machine. Not a symbol of glory. But a death trap. This is the story of the men inside the tanks. The forgotten few who lived, fought, and died in the iron beasts of World War II. If you learned something new today, consider subscribing. Because history isn't just dates and battles. It's voices. Voices that deserve to be heard.